Hello everyone, wonderful. I'm hoping today's live we are not interrupted by internet or slow internet like we were last week. So while everyone is jumping on, hello everyone that's jumping on, I'll introduce myself, I'm going to introduce the topic, and if you can hear some other noise, it's because it's raining, it's bucketing down outside, and I have a ColourBond roof. And for people that may not know what that is, that's kind of like a tin roof. It's very quite common in Australia, and we have coloured tin roofs, so you can really hear the rain, which I love, but then it can be quite distracting. So welcome everyone that's jumping on. I'm going to talk all today all about cravings after weight loss surgery. Hi Betty, lovely to see people jumping on that I know, so wonderful. Cravings after weight loss surgery. And it's such a common challenge topic. And yeah, someone's put, okay, my God, thanks for this video, I'm struggling with weight regain. Yeah, look, it comes up for many people at different stages. It can even come up in the weight loss phase after your weight loss journey. And then if you do have cravings and increased hunger and you don't know how to manage it, it's going to slow down your weight loss. Number two, if it comes back into your life, cravings and hunger and cravings, and I'm going to talk about why I'm talking about them together, in your maintenance, yeah, it can definitely lead to weight regain. So I want to start off with some basics, and if you've listened to me before, you may have heard this, but I just want to talk about the difference between hunger and cravings, because often you hear people getting hunger and cravings are put together in a sentence. I want to talk about the difference, okay? Now, please know that people that are new to my live, please know that you can put a comment or question at any time, and it doesn't have to be exactly related to this topic. I'm very happy to answer other questions, so just wanted to let you know. So anyone that's on, if you've experienced cravings after your weight loss surgery, I would love you to put a 1 in the comment. Just put a 1 in the comment and I'll know how many people we've got on that have really cravings, because you may have just seen the live and thought, I'm going to go on and listen to what this woman has to say, but you may also be jumping on because it's really relevant for you. Okay, let's talk hunger. So hunger comes on slowly. The sensation of hunger comes on slowly. You haven't eaten for some time, it won't go away, and any food will do. So that's some of the criteria for hunger. It won't go away. If you don't act on it, it won't go away. It can go up and down, hunger, meaning how it feels for you, but it won't go away and any food will do. Cravings come on quickly. You can have eaten just recently or not eaten. They kind of, I think of it like they come up quickly like a big wave and then they crash and it subsides. If you don't act on that craving, it subsides and dies down a little bit, that over a bit of time. So that also craving, you want specific food. You're looking for particular food. Hi Ash, so you have a foods in mind. Hunger, any food will do. And why I'm talking about the difference is because often it can be hard to pull apart what is hunger and what is craving. After weight loss surgery, your sensations aren't exactly what they were before surgery. And if you've listened to me, you know before I talk about this, your body can be more not yelling at you like before surgery, oh, I'm hungry, It can be more of a whisper, and also how it feels and where it feels in the body can be different. So it can be, I think of it like a knotted ball of wool, and we really need to flesh it out and get really clear what is hunger and what is cravings. Now today I wanted to use an example of a client, and I've shared it, I think, was it yesterday? I can't remember when I shared the client win, or was it last week? My client, and the reason why I want to share, because this was something my client was struggling with, and she came to work with me, and I've been working with her about 2 months, and it's about 8 weeks, and she was, from memory, about 2.5 years post-surgery, post-sleeve gastrectomy. And she'd felt, yes, and someone said sweet cravings are really common. So she felt really lost. She was had some weight regain, and cravings and hunger and snacking were kind of in that kind of area of her challenge, and why she came to work with me, what she wanted to get confident in managing, and obviously to decrease. So all of those things, and I'm putting my hands together like that because they often will come all together. So what did we do? We went back to, I always love saying this, we go back to basics. And we worked really hard together on an eating schedule that really suited her. Because when you eat regularly, it helps regulate your appetite. And it means that you hit your hot spots in the day, which are those times you're more vulnerable. So if I say to you, when you're having craving, and people often say, oh, okay, mid-afternoon, when I get home from work, after dinner, they're those hot spots, those real key points in the day where you're more vulnerable. So we really worked on getting an eating schedule that worked for her and that ensured she was getting her meals and snacks at the right time. So she entered her hotspots not hungry, physically satisfied. We also focused on putting a good amount of protein intake in that early part of the day. And we did that very strategically and looked at how much she needed at these different points in the early part of the day to ensure in that later part of the day she wasn't entering one of her hot spots and areas, times of craving with cellular hunger, actually physical hunger. And that has made a significant improvement to her cravings, okay? Also, and I'm going to get to, also she's noticed she doesn't snack between meals. She doesn't pick and graze between meals like she did because she's physically satisfied. So we've looked after one part of that craving kind of scenario. Then we are now going into that second stage, which is, okay, I acknowledge that I physically am not hungry, but I want to eat this particular food. Okay, this is non-hungry eating. This is a craving. And we are working through, what are you craving? What emotions are driving that craving? What are you looking for food to do for you? Soothe you, distract you, give you pleasure, give you reward. And that's why often the hotspots for cravings, often, not always, come at that later part of the day where we're more tired, we're more emotional. Might be mid-afternoon where you're really looking forward to the end of the day. Someone brings something into the tea room, or that cake from someone's birthday sitting there in the tea room still calling your name. Or you get home from work and you open the door and you just really want something nice for yourself. And like I always say, I don't want my clients coming in at the end of the day, opening the door after their day, hungry. We don't want that. And then after dinner is such a common hotspot for people with cravings and snacking and grazing, because that's the time that often kids have gone to bed, all the jobs are done, and now it's your time. And we want to say, well, what emotions are we looking to meet with this food, and what else can we do to meet that emotion? And if it's you're really stressed, what can you do to relieve that stress? Can you do journaling? Can you call a friend or talk to somebody? Can you move your body in a way, and it might be just some yoga on the floor and something to really kind of decompress. So we get in the habit of using food to manage and soothe ourselves, manage the emotions, and we want to look at how else can we manage those emotions. But we first want to ensure that there's no hunger involved at that point of that craving and you looking to manage that craving, that non-hungry eating, desire for non-hungry eating. So I would love to hear from anyone. Any questions, any thoughts? Is this making sense? Is it resonating with you? I wanted to use my client's story because it really paints the picture about how I work through cravings. We first want to ensure that you're getting adequate protein, and the majority of people that join my boot camp and start working with me are not getting adequate protein. They are not eating satisfying meals. So yes, hunger and cravings occur, snacking happens, that kind of mid-afternoon onwards predominantly. And what also happens is when you eat more of your intake later in the day, it fosters that next part of that early part of that next day. You don't feel as hungry, you don't have the same appetite. Then you don't eat as much in that early part of that next day, and then the cycle continues. If you don't eat enough in the early part of the day, your body's going to drive you to eat more later in the day, because your body's job is to keep you alive. Okay, Ash, lovely, resonates with you, struggle with boredom eating, and also eating for a dopamine hit. Yeah. Women and men as well, but I predominantly work with women. Cravings and that desire to eat for emotional reasons is really a big challenge, and we want to break that, and it can take time, okay? So lovely. Thank you so much for sharing, Ash, and also Betty. Over the years pre-surgery, you develop ways of coping, ways of being, eating habits, all of that, and it can take time to break it. And that's why we do it step by step. That's why in my program, I don't work with people for 1-3 sessions. I work over at least a 4-month period. And many clients decide to work with me longer because we have personal goals and we chip away hand in hand towards your personal goals over time. That's when it's sustainable, when we do things at a pace that you can embed those habits and really get that knowledge, but also the tools in your toolkit to actually know how to manage. Okay, started getting a bit more eating later in the day. I'm not, eating enough protein in the day. I know how much protein I need to eat across that early part of the day that really sets me up for that later in the day. Cherie absolutely described beautiful. I've been depressed for the last 2.5 months and I've been wanting sweets. I struggle boredom eating before I get depressed. I feel for you because emotional struggles are really such a hard thing. So Cherie, if you'd like to send me a DM, I'd love to chat with you more because we want to get you support. I want to ensure you get support. You want to get support for your mental health. And then also you want to ensure that you learn strategies not to eat for when you're feeling down and bored, because that will lead to weight regain, okay? And as I said right at the beginning, if these habits come back and cravings come back and hunger increases, and it does in particularly that second 6 months post-surgery, that's a really common time where people say, I'm really noticing my appetite coming back, and that's really scary. Often cravings go with it. You need to know how to manage that. You need to know how to stay, I call it, in your sweet spot, which is adequate protein and you're satisfied, but you have a deficit of calories, because that keeps your weight loss going. And that is super important. I want you to know it is so normal for old habits to come back. You are not a failure. It is expected. Old habits die hard. Overnight, you have surgery in the hospital, and yes, it's a really wonderful tool, bariatric surgery, but it doesn't do all the work. Changing habits and getting more tools in your toolkit are really, really important, okay? So thank you so much for that. Please, Cherie, send me a DM if you'd like to chat more. So thank you all for listening. I wanted to use my client story as, I suppose, to share a bit more about how I work and paint that picture of a client, which is really, when she came to me, I said to her, what you're struggling with is so common and so typical and doesn't make it any easier at all. But when you get over that 2 years from surgery and there's some weight coming back, weight regain, you really want to nip it in the bud. When I'm working with clients in the earlier days, they are learning these strategies as even in their weight loss phase. But if you're over 2 years and you're struggling, you want to nip that weight regain in the bud. You want to really learn how to be in charge of your weight and your health. And that's why bariatric centres do a wonderful job of surgery and getting people well and healed, but most of them don't support people in the longer term. And things can come up later in your journey that you just didn't even know were going to happen, okay? But I also love working with people in that first year because we lay foundations and you really get that knowledge and that skills, where to go back to whenever you drift off. And that's another one thing I've seen is people that don't have those foundations in the early days are more likely to drift off and get stuck later because you don't know where to go back to. You don't know where home base is. You don't know where that back on track is. What does it look like? What habits do I do? So it's not lack of motivation. It's not that you're a failure or anything like that. It's actually a lack of knowledge and education support. So thank you all so much for listening. I hope this was of value. If you would like to chat with me more, please send me a DM. If you'd like to know more about my coaching and support, please send me a DM. You can just say support. I'll come back and we can chat with no pressure or obligation. So thank you so much. Bye for now.